It's January 30th, 2023. I'm sitting in my quiet. Um, I'm thinking of past presidents before I arrived. I arrived to Jimmy Carter in the White House. So, precedent to he in the White House of white ancestry in these lands. Um, on the federal side of management, I'm thinking, and whatever. Um, Someone made reference yesterday to Mike Riley, with one of my ancestors, um, which is not a far leap, but again, so noble of blood as some of us still are, and not knowing the exact family branch connection, but knowing that it is a loose conglomerate. Um, there's nuclear security. We are a nuclear family at all times. Um, so, nuclear security and nuclear codes are always top priority. I'm listening as the news says that there was some security meeting where some high top official at the meeting handed out grenades. Whether that was true or not, I have no idea. But um, I'm like, that's like this communication project in the 2023. I mean, that's how it feels. I'm struggling to keep track of what and which filter they're using. I'm simple thing I should be able to read. I mean, and then I'm thinking biological clock of symmetry, which goes into world clock and national clock, and a ruler system with this symmetrical clock, biological clock that I have, which is unlike the majority in wherever I'm in. So I know that that has an added layer of security and importance. Whether I'm living life Mike O'Reilly or Mike Riley, or like living life O'Reilly, I'm pretty sure people who know about nuclear codes would know the difference. And that's where I guess IR comes in with, I don't know what happened. I don't know why they tried to push some crazy donkey and tried to make it look like my three sons were his three sons, and like he's the Douglas family representative. He's not. And then to put me further into toxicity of some kind of toxic relationship with some other version of an American, it's disgusting. It's an insult to my intelligence, along with toxicity. I had a very clear conversation. I sat my son down, who was in tears, crying, and we had a conversation with the father at the church, just so my American dads are crystal clear on, I did, like, this is a forced relationship of toxicity for which I don't deserve. The family members that put me in a glen and had presidential level security check on my well-being, that glen that raised me, Midland, St. Mark's, that level of family love, that they nurtured me in that safety school, and then came to visit over the summer in other ways to make sure that I was okay, because I am so crucially and critically important at a humanity level of biological clocks and a ruler system. I am really, those fathers, my American dads, I had multiple American dads that cared, or at least I call them my American dads because I was in America. Those dads that cared, that set up that layer of making sure I was raised at a different, like almost like a private standard, would be so hurt personally for what America pushed into my season as if it was something that was acceptable, which it never was. So with that in the back of my head of I was not raised this way, I was not raised for this purpose. I had much better options, much more code 7 from Adam's 12 options. And for it to turn out in this toxic manner, stuck here, and then left in a series of rooms without contact to anything, is a real serious problem that I don't know how to address properly to IR. But it's an HRIR problem, and an HSI, should be on the lookout. So I'm looking today as to what, as a nuclear family representative, what could this Eagles mean? What is the word on the street, according to other representatives that look like they might be nuclear family representatives by heraldry? One woman, I'm going to go through the series of what I had to look for this morning to try to get my bearings straight and my Magellan straight all at the same time, since they seem to be pulling in these opposite directions and both having opposite infiltrating, whatever. And it's really confusing in the middle. It's like a pile up. I hear them talking about hip hop. I hear them in Manhattan bussing insurgents in and talking about billionaire developers and whatever. And I'm like, I'm a piece of biological code. I have a ruler. I am a ruler in this biological code system for future. There's nuclear security and there's nuclear heads somewhere that know this. Why have I been left in such a dangerous city at such a dangerous time and all by myself in this, what looks like on paper, like a relationship, but it's just toxicity. I mean, it's just a smear campaign for which I'm not taking part in. I don't use the paper system the way that the rest of the humans are. So I'm watching this, and so they've got this green, which there was yesterday they showed on the news somewhere in Israel, there's some upset between the Jewish culture and the Arab culture, or those are the words that they say. And I'm like, even though some version of that exists in New York City, I have no idea what it means. And that puts my national security in jeopardy and in a dangerous position. So now, are there people here that know about it? Probably. But what I'm confused about is being that I am a part of the ruler in biological anatomical timing, for which world clock and national standards have some bar of judgment and of measuring as to how well am I being treated and taken care of, which at the moment is not very well. And then I'm watching this and I'm like, there's this eagles, they're like, eat, fly, eagles fly. And I'm watching two different faces with two totally different agendas trying to come together on supporting one team, and then the Chiefs, and then there's sanitation is talking one way, the Empire's talking another way, and I'm sitting here listening to all these trumpets blown, and I'm just like, like, the psychology of the city doesn't even work. It just doesn't. I'm watching it and I'm like, opportunity totally blown.
Can do something about this. The Empire State Building often changes its lights to celebrate teams or causes, but last night's color choice caused a bit of a stir. Here it is lit up. Can you believe this? Green.
So Channel 2 and this proponent or this conjecture of perhaps ancestry of, because I don't have blood tests, can't tell, but he looks like he could be one of the like past presidents' ancestors into this whatever, and he's calling it a stir. I go to Channel 7 and it's not part of past presidents and federal whatever in these lands, and they're claiming it a very different way. And then I'm going and referencing biblical texts, like in the small amount of like the Moses and the Egyptians and the Pharisees. And I'm like, now, God forbid, but if it was read some other way, I mean, like, how does HSI, I just learned those 3 letters, Homeland Security, how do they keep their stuff, like, how do they keep their bearings and their Magellan straight? I mean, this is really confusing. I mean, I know who's on the dollar bill and who's on the green linen with cream, whatever, but I'm confused as to where the trendy and where these new social like elites have taken this gift of communication and of status and completely warped the fabric of space and time and what it was originally intended for. Building something I don't even recognize anymore.
Eagles of all teams winning yesterday. The building's Twitter page even read, "Fly, Eagles, fly. Someone needs to be sent to detention at the..."
Right, here we go. So New York sanitation. For anyone who finds this as treacherous, traitorous, and unforgivable as we do, just pretend it's green and white for New York's strongest. No idea what that means. No idea what that campaign means. We take out the trash every day. And next year, that'll include the Eagles. Now, if I draw parallel to what's going on in Israel right now, that seems like treason if the people here are speaking it. Not myself, because I'm part of the nuclear family and part of the past presidents, but the other areas of security that what they are running around with green flags over there, if that's what they're doing over here and that's their message, it changes the entire conjecture. It's a completely different context. The message is treason against President Biden and against the presidential children of the federal, heraldry. So now this gets confusing as to, all of this mixed messaging and then this freedom of I don't know what to participate in this manner. I'm sitting here, I'm just like, depending on who's saying it and what they mean on broad daylight, this is I mean,
the Empire State Building. The backlash was immediately felt from the sanitation department right down to Giant fans who could not believe it. They called it treacherous, traitorous, unforgivable.
And then Empire State comes out and changes it to red and gold, and it says that, and this is supposedly the Chiefs. And I'm like, and then on another level of the onion, I'm thinking to myself, okay, so the Eagles, usually that's something that flies. Is that aviation? And then the Chiefs, are those the American, or is that the clan dads in like some, is that word like, again, is that one of those touchy words that you're not even allowed to use? But if you talk about multiple chiefs in a larger family ring system that have like air, water, and land folk to think of, FOLK, I mean, then I'm like, when does that word become acceptable without triggering off crazy town in like, no, there's seriousness in the message and real concern.
And former Jet Nick Mangold said, "You're dead to me." Once the Kansas City Chiefs won their game, the colors then changed to red and yellow. What are we doing down there? The Empire State team followed up on Twitter, writing, "It hurt us more than it hurt you." I don't think so.
Yeah, so why do it?
I don't think so.
Right.
I mean, come on. Fly, Eagles, fly.
540 right now. What? Coming up, a record 50 years in the making could soon be broken.
So that was channel 2. Then I switch over to channel 7 this morning to try to hear what their announcers are saying and to see to whom they allowed to trumpet this message. Like, which one of their messengers are they using? What do they look like? And what are the specific keynote words that they're using in their mentality to kind of judge the psychology of the news outlets in New York at the moment on this very touchy subject, based on what they've been showing is projecting elsewhere, and trying to figure out what's going on with the integrated intercom system.
Fans, it's already painful as it is to watch the Eagles make it to the Super Bowl, but this right here adds insult to injury. The Empire State Building was lit up in green and white to celebrate the Eagles' win. The building was also lit up in red and gold for the Chiefs' victory. But the damage is already done. Reaction posted on social media, most not suitable for our air. This is what we could safely show the Giants themselves tweeting, "I'm just here for the comment."
Oh, so on channel 7, they show what the Giants supposedly, it says, "I'm just here for the comments."
And the Department of Sanitation.
But the Department of Sanitation and the other one are the same on messaging.
And may have had the best response. For anyone who finds this as treacherous, traitorous, and unforgivable as we do, just pretend it's green and white for New York's strongest. We take out the trash every day, and next year, that will include the Eagles.
Man, we need to get back to the Valentine's Day love story. The heck? As far as the AFC Championship game, the Bengals and the Chiefs faced off for a second straight year.
So then, because that wasn't clear enough, I was like, what are the humans, like, what do they and their social networks of have a job at a network where I do not? What are they saying? So Kelly Ripa on Live with Kelly and Ryan this morning, her and her husband, they live in a different level of consciousness than I do. Like, they live in this, like, he's a Bucks fan, apparently. And they have kids that go to state schools and involved in sports. I don't even have that. And so they get this American culture of competitive sports, which I still don't understand whatsoever. And I don't get its logic. Like, I mean, again, if somebody sat down and wanted to explain to me the psychology of sports, I think it would probably be a somewhat interesting conversation. But like at this point, I'm so not like entangled in this level of quantum possibility. It's like, but it raises other flags and concerns, red flags for me. So I'm listening to how they participate and what level of consciousness their American is. and how they've been offered an extension ladder into these societies where I have not, and I don't know why. I don't know why I got pushed up with a crazy donkey and some toxicity, and which is not how the Glen would have wanted me to be raised, not ever. And then why these other people are getting like extension letters into this subculture of sports and physical activity and like all this other stuff. I mean, I haven't even been given an extension letter into the fine arts department, not the historical society, not fine arts. I'm like, where did the, like, I mean, I was raised for better than where I am right now. And there's no, like, how do I bridge this gap? There's not even like a partnership in order to get there. Although I did get a phone call from Department of Homeland Security once that said I do have a partnership with them. I don't know how to find them. I don't know. I think it was Henry Maxwell, but I don't know how to find that person.
Was against Ohio State. The Friday night, yeah. And Michigan and Ohio State, like, we're new Michigan fans. We don't really understand the tense and deep-rooted rivalry. It's
until we get trolled online.
Yeah, for me.
Being Michigan parents. Yeah.
And this like trolling online, like I got a phone call once too that like they're like, yeah, we see you use Facebook and we just want to let you know about other Facebook features. And I'm like, yeah, like what? And they're like, community. And I'm like, what kind of community? I'm like, do you have like anything, like any suggestions? I'm like, I wouldn't even, I don't know what that means. And like, they're trying to sell me on joining groups. And I'm like, I don't even know what to join. Like, again, it had been so many years after the first part of like toxic relationship and getting myself away with the kids, but then having this other trailing toxic relationship that I can't get out of and trying to survive the toxicity level and like everything in between. I mean, it's just, and all by myself, no less, with no hand to hold, no ladder to climb, no extension ladder. Or ladder.
So we're going. They had a duel Friday night. Ohio State won, but it was a good match. And there was this one match between Cam Amin and I can't pronounce the other guy's name. Anyway, it goes to overtime, and we need him to win this match to continue for the possibility of us winning this
like,
duel.
I don't get this, and I really don't care about this. Where it comes more important is, so I just fast forwarded through it, is they go to reference their in-house Eagles rep, or so she says. And I'm like, and now she's wearing Eagles hat and green Eagle eyeshadow. And Kelly's like, that's like disco Emerald City. And I'm like, oh, is that what your people taught you it meant? Emerald City. That's interesting. Now, is that like the Emerald Society I just learned about? With the St. Paddy's Parade people from Ireland. Like, again, these are not like big household name. Like, there's been no introduction. There's no like, oh, your grandmother was from Ireland. You're in America. You're one of us. Come with us and be one of us. There was none of that. In fact, I just had to learn it I had a tape the St. Paddy's Day parade in like my year, I think either it was 2021, 22 or 23. And I just taped it and had to like try to sit there and learn as much Irish heritage as I could from a parade in New York, because there's no like integrative services that's ever been introduced.
Going to the Super Bowl.
Let's check in with our resident Eagle maniac, fanatic.
Go Birds.
Go Birds. Ash.
Wasn't even close.
Ashley, let's talk about your statement eyeshadow today. Ash is wearing green eyeshadow, which I haven't seen since my mom took disco lessons and brought that Avon green palette. You are Emerald Emerald City, baby. I love it.
And then the Chiefs won, and they're going to the Super Bowl. Man, that guy Mahomes, that quarterback Mahomes. You know, I'm a Bucs fan, so we played them. We played them in the Super Bowl a couple years ago, beat them. But he's so crafty. He's so crafty. He does stuff that's so annoying. You think he's tackled, and he throws it under his hand, and he does all this stuff, and he ran. It was the end of the game. He ran 15 some odd yards, gets hit out of bounds. It was a late hit. They add an additional 15 yards. They kicked the field goal. You heard me complaining last night.
Oh, there was a lot of complaints.
I'm like, gosh. And listen, they're great.
I couldn't argue with him because I have a cracked rib.
Last night you showed me that the Empire State Building in honor of the Eagles. I mean, how evolved of us New Yorkers. Do you think Philly would ever do that for us? What's that? No, they wouldn't do that. The city of brotherly love. They would never even consider. You know, I went to.
Tish went on a rant last night.
Yeah. But then
She was like, am I hallucinating?
But not soon after, they showed the Chiefs' colors.
Because, Lizzie, let me explain to you. The Empire State is the world's state.
That's
it's
right.
not just for us. It's for everyone.
Yeah, for everyone.
We love everyone. We love all people equally. Yes, even the Eagles fans.
I am rooting for the Eagles.
Yeah,
I
me
gotta
too.
love them. Gotta love those Eagles.
Good for you.
Do you remember when I went to an Eagles-Bucks game with your dad? Back in 20 years ago, it must have been 20 years ago, the last time the first time the Bucks won the Super Bowl. It was NFC Championship game.
It's always scary.
Eagles, Bucks. It was the last game at Vet Stadium.
Oh, yeah.
They tore that thing down afterwards, I think.
Yeah.
And I had my Bucks colors on, and you're...
Like, this is how I'm learning about what's going on around me, which is really frightening, is through some celebrity story on 2-dimensional, because the 3-dimensional actual, like, humans have been so non-existent in my life that, like, now it puts me in this vulnerable position where I have to become visceral and actually go to look for some piece of reality as to, like, where did all the white people go? Like, how did they just totally disappear where I can't even find my own tribe anymore? Like, they don't even exist. And there's certainly, like, nothing, like, visually edible, for sure.
And your dad said, son, take those off.
Yeah, you're gonna get
injured. I said, what are you talking about? I can handle myself. He's like, no, it's not about that. It's these Eagles fans are very passionate, and you will have an issue. Is that right, Ash?
verbal.
They had a jail. They had a judge and a jail in the basement of the Vet Stadium. They would just arrest people, arraign them right then and there.
Don't
True
act like
story.
that's so unusual.
It's unusual. It's unusual. And so I did change, and the Bucks won, and I realized that he was right because they were losing, and they knew they were.
Like, that whole thing, like, there's a jail at a sports game? Like, again, I've been to one, and only in my 40s did I go to an NFL game. I've been to one hockey game, one basketball game. I mean, like, these are not things where I was like, I mean, a bunch of baseball games in, like, it's so boring. I dislike all of the sports, honestly. But I went for my children, and I put on the best face, and I just, for them, was like, it's your American thing, because that's what the other Americans do. So let's just, I guess, I don't know what's going on, kids. Really, I don't.
They don't lose. They just started fighting each other. The Eagles fans were like brawling each other.
That's what you want to do.
Go
Let
Eagles!
them tire themselves.
Fly, Eagles fly.
Yes.
There are two.
And again, this is now this integrated American culture for which they've left me out of completely my entire life. I don't know how to get to the fine arts and the historical culture society, but this is what's left, and this is what in the common area seems to be like common sense. I don't know. But I can't even follow them because I don't get it. Like, I'm so lost in the shuffle. And I'm like, and then I was looking at referencing the Thunderbirds from this week, brink of disaster, for some form of, it's been 3 weeks in a row that they put this out, like of different series of it. And I'm just like, this morning on Dragnet, they had something on about like card games. Again, I don't play cards. I don't know cards. I don't play cards. I don't know that level of whatever. I mean, is that what politicians are? I have no idea. Again, it hasn't been my whatever. But anyway, I did go to the local church. I did have a conversation with the local pastor. My son was there with me. He was in tears. And so there's nothing much for me to say. I mean, I don't want to damage my son any more than my son is already being or already exposed to with this disgusting whatever he is in toxicity. But it should have been removed from the house when we were losing the house originally, and removed out of my life completely with my son at my side. But for whatever reason, whatever they are, is just some rogue league of I don't know what. And they're not participating in any manner that I think should be like commended for sure. It's star 1978, star 8378, Nicole Cattaruzza. It's Earth, solar system, Milky Way universe, galaxy is broken. What would have been commendable would have been paying off my house, having Tia Frio 1975 removed and just taken out completely out of the picture, and then leaving all 4 of my sons so I could get onto a healthy regimen, and assigning me some kind of internal like health and security rep in order to get the nutrition and the balancing of the energy back into the correct alignment. That's what was needed. But that's not what happened. What happened was there's some kind of taking of the children. I call it kidnapping because I didn't want them to go, and I don't want them to be near the whatever. But this whole thing is spinning completely out of my control. But yet I have the ruler and the biological clock. So that gets confusing on spiritual level when I have a meeting with IR.